Namaste, everyone. Welcome back. We continue today with the Ashtavakra Gita in Chapter 1, Verse 6. Dharma dharmo sukham dukham, dharma dharmo sukham dukham, manasani na te vibho, manasani na te vibho, na kartasi na bhoktasi, na kartasi na bhoktasi, mukta hevasi sarvada, mukta hevasi sarvada. At the end of the second line, Ashtavakra addresses King Janaka, Vibho, O Great One, Te, you are the one who has na sukham dukham. You have no pleasure or pain, no happiness or sorrow. Also, na dharma adharmao. You have no duties to be performed, nor any sinful deeds to avoid. You don't have any do's and don'ts. Why not? Because all these are manasani. They belong to your mind, manas. Your experience of pleasure and pain, and your responsibility to follow the path of dharma are matters for your mind, not for your true self, atma, pure consciousness. To explain this further, Ashtavakra tells Janaka, na karta asi. You are not a karta. You are not an agent of action. You are not a doer of deeds. Consciousness itself doesn't do anything. To use an ancient metaphor, farmers are able to work in the fields, and villagers can go to the market because of the sun, because of the sun's light. Yet, the sun itself doesn't do anything. It just shines. Similarly, consciousness doesn't do anything. It just shines or reveals the activities of your mind. From a more Vedantic perspective, consciousness is a fundamental reality. And as a fundamental reality, consciousness is unborn, uncreated, eternal, and unchanging. That which is unchanging can't engage in any kind of activity. And further, Ashtavakra tells Janaka, na bhokta asi. You are not a bhokta. You are not an enjoyer. You are not an experiencer of pleasure or pain or anything else. Consciousness is unchanging, so it can't get happy or sad. It can't get agitated or calm. Consciousness can't even understand simple math or decide what they have for dinner. All these are manasa. They are mental activities. And all mental activities are revealed by consciousness. So the consciousness that reveals your mental activities is not a karta, an agent of action, nor is it a bhokta, an experiencer of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions. It simply reveals them. This particular teaching, that consciousness is neither a karta nor a bhokta, is certainly not an introductory teaching. As we saw before, the Ashtavakra Gita is not an introductory text. It's a dialogue between two great enlightened beings. This is apparent here when Ashtavakra tells King Janaka, mukta eva asi. You indeed are mukta, liberated, enlightened. The most interesting word in this verse is probably the last one, sarvada, always. Ashtavakra says to Janaka, you were always liberated, always enlightened. But to whom is Ashtavakra referring here? No doubt, there was a time when King Janaka was not yet enlightened, perhaps before he had the opportunity to meet and learn from Rishi Yajnavalkya. But even before Janaka became enlightened, his true self, Atma, was already enlightened, already liberated, because Atma was never bound in the first place. It's interesting to note that Ashtavakra does not say anything here that Janaka doesn't already know. When the king asked Ashtavakra how to gain liberation, it was not for the sake of learning anything new. It wasn't even for the sake of gaining liberation. Instead, the king wanted to remain immersed in the teachings of Vedanta to practice nididhyasana, for the sake of assimilating the great truths of Advaita Vedanta. By studying their brilliant dialogue, we also get the opportunity to immerse ourselves in these teachings for the sake of practicing nididhyasana. Next, verse 7. Eko drashtasi sarvasya, eko drashtasi sarvasya, mukta prayosi sarvada, mukta prayosi sarvada, ayameva hite bandho, ayameva hite bandho, drashtaram pashyasitaram, drashtaram pashyasitaram. By the way, if you have studied Sanskrit and you're interested in a grammatical analysis of these verses, my assistant, Vasanti, taught this first chapter in her reading class. You can find a link to those classes in the description below. Here, Ashtavakra tells King Janaka, Ekaha drashta asi. You are the one seer. You are the one and only all-pervasive universal consciousness, sarvasya, for the whole world, for the entire universe. The consciousness that makes Janaka an awareful being is the same consciousness that's present in every living being. It's the same consciousness that reveals the thoughts, emotions, and perceptions arising in the mind of every person, including you and me. At this point, many people ask, if the same consciousness reveals your thoughts and my thoughts, then why don't I know what you're thinking right now? To answer this, all we have to do is inquire, who is it that is asking this particular question? Not consciousness. Consciousness itself doesn't do anything, so it can't ask questions. Questions arise in your mind. Your mind, of course, is separate and distinct from every other mind, so it can't know what another mind is thinking. By the way, it's really fortunate that we don't know what everyone else is thinking. Just imagine how noisy and chaotic that would be. Next, Ashtavakra tells the king, Mukta prayaha asi. You are abundantly liberated. You are fully enlightened. Sarvada, always. In the prior verse, we already discussed how Atma is eternally enlightened. In the second half of this verse, Ashtavakra says, Te bandaha, your bondage, bondage to a life of suffering, the bondage that King Janaka must have experienced before he became enlightened. Ayam eva hi. That bondage has a source. It has a cause. And that cause is pashyasi. You once considered yourself to be itaram drashtaram. You considered yourself to be an individual conscious being. Ashtavakra says here that the ultimate cause for bondage is false identification with your body and mind. When you identify yourself with your body, then the problems of your body become your problems. And when you identify yourself with your mind, then the problems of your mind become your problems. But in the absence of false identification, then the problems of your body and mind belong only to your body and mind, and not to you. That means, in the absence of false identification, physical and mental problems cannot make you suffer. Ashtavakra explains the cause of false identification and how to overcome it with a wonderful metaphor. Aham kartetyaham mana maha krishna hidam shitaha naham karteti vishwasa mritam pitva sukham chara. That's a great metaphor. At the end of the second line, damshitaha, when you get bitten, bitten by what? Maha Krishna ahi, bitten by a huge black snake, by a deadly snake that pumps its venom into your veins. In this metaphor, the snake represents ignorance or delusion, and its venom is aham mana, ego. The ego or I-ness that lies at the root of false identification with your body and mind. The venom of false identification figuratively poisons your mind. It makes you falsely think and feel that aham karta iti, I am a karta, I am an agent of action, I am a doer of deeds, an individual person with a body and mind. So, if you have been bitten by the deadly snake of delusion and filled with the venom of false identification, then you desperately need to find some kind of antidote. And that antidote is found in the teachings of Advaita Vedanta, teachings that can destroy false identification with your body and mind by leading you to discover your true nature as pure consciousness. Ashtavakra continues, Amritam pitva, having tasted the nectar of immortality, that is, having deeply imbibed the teachings of Vedanta that lead you to discover that your true self, atma, is unborn, uncreated, and eternal. Having made that discovery, you will certainly gain vishwasa, firm conviction. Your thinking will be radically transformed. You will clearly understand that na aham karta iti, I am not an agent. I am not a doer of deeds with a body and mind, but instead I am pure consciousness, atma. So the antidote of self-knowledge overcomes or removes the venom of false identification. Then all suffering comes to an end, and nothing else remains to be done. That's why Ashtavakra concludes here by telling Janaka, Sukham chara, live happily, live without suffering. Okay, let's get ready for our guided contemplation now. In the verses that we just saw, Ashtavakra says that you are not a karta, you are not an agent of action, a doer of deeds. We will contemplate on this teaching today. Before we begin our practice of nididhyasana, you can pause this video right now so that you can practice your chosen meditation technique to get ready. Then, when your mind is sufficiently quiet and focused, You can return to this video and listen with your eyes closed. If your mind is perfectly quiet and completely focused right now, we can continue. About 15 minutes ago, you made a decision to watch this video. You considered whether to watch this video right now, or to watch it later, or to skip it altogether. That whole decision-making process took place in your mind, and it lasted only a few moments. If you were completely identified with your mind during that decision-making process, then it certainly felt like it was you who made the decision, not your mind. But the fact is, decision-making is a purely mechanical function of your mind. Billions of neurons and trillions of synapses in your brain all contributed to that process. You, on the other hand, were conscious of that decision-making process. You were aware of its progress and its conclusion, just like you are aware of what's happening right now as you listen to me. Ashtavakra says that you are a conscious being, pure consciousness, completely separate from your body and mind, and utterly unaffected by everything you experience. Let's reflect on this teaching in terms of your own experience. First, listen as I chant Om. Om. Just now, you probably decided to listen to me, and you directed your attention to the sound of my voice. According to Ashtavakra, you were being a karta, an agent of action. You were performing the act of listening. You were being a listener. But it's possible to hear me chant Om without being an agent of action, without being a listener. If the meditation you practiced before to get ready for this contemplation was successful in making your mind silent and focused, then you don't really have to do anything to hear me chant. You don't even need to direct your attention to the sound of my voice. In fact, you don't have to do anything at all. Try it again. are a conscious being. So, when the sound of Om arises in your mind, you become aware of its presence without any effort whatsoever. Anything that happens in your mind is effortlessly known to you. To know the presence of Om in your mind right now is not listening. It's simply being present. It's just being yourself as a conscious being. Try it again. Don't listen. Just observe the sound that arises in your mind. Om. 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 Don't do anything. Just sit there, observing the sounds that arise in your mind. Om. 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 Don't listen. Just sit there. Om. 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 Don't do anything. Just be present. Om. Om. Don't do anything. Om. Om. Om.